The day my best friend exposed the truth about my birth. I felt the ground beneath me shift, as if my entire life had been built on borrowed sand. I remember the sound before anything else. A soft clatter, porcelain hitting wood. My mother's favorite cup, the one with the fading blue rim, slipped from her hand and shattered across the kitchen floor. She didn't even flinch. She just stared at me, not angry, not afraid, but hollow. Across from her, my best friend Layla stood with her arms crossed, her face pale yet defiant, like she'd stepped into a role she didn't fully understand. The air between us felt heavy, stale, like a room sealed shut for too long. I had walked in expecting an ordinary afternoon, tea with my mother, laughter with the girl I'd called my sister for 20 years. Instead, I walked into a storm I never saw coming. "You deserve to know," Layla whispered, avoiding my eyes. But my mother, she said nothing. Her silence felt louder than anyone's voice. I stood frozen in the doorway, the truth hanging between us like smoke, suffocating, bitter, impossible to ignore. And in that moment, a strange thought settled into my bones. Nothing about my life was what I believed it to be. But to understand how the cracks began, you have to know what life looked like before it all fell apart. Normal life/setup. Before that day, my world was small, predictable, and wonderfully ordinary. I lived in a quiet neighborhood in Lahore, the kind with crumbling sidewalks and children who rode bicycles in circles until their parents called them home. Our house wasn't big, but it was warm. My mother kept jasmine plants near the windows, so the whole place smelled faintly sweet, especially in the evenings. Most mornings started the same way. She'd be in the kitchen humming old ghazals, wearing her faded peach dupatta, the one she refused to replace because old cloth holds old blessings. I'd sit at the small wooden table, sipping tea she'd brewed too strong but sweetened with more love than sugar. My father had died when I was young, at least that's what I'd always been told. I had no memory of him, just a single photograph tucked into a drawer, a blurry image of a tall man with tired eyes, his hand resting gently on my mother's shoulder. Mother never spoke much about him, and I never pressed. Grief, after all, is a door you shouldn't open without permission. Then there was Layla. We met when we were 6, two stubborn little girls fighting over a blue crayon in school. Somehow, that battle turned into friendship, and that friendship grew into something deeper than blood. Everyone said we were like sisters. Sometimes I believed we were closer. She knew everything, my fears, my dreams, the tiny cracks in my confidence I tried to hide from the world. We studied together, grew up side by side, laughed until our stomachs hurt, and cried through heartbreaks neither of us were ready for. She spent more time in my house than her own. My mother adored her, always cooking extra food because Layla eats like a bird but cries like a human, let her be strong. Our lives intertwined so naturally that I never imagined anything could separate us. Looking back, maybe I loved her too blindly. Maybe that blindness kept me from seeing the shadows gathering long before they reached my doorstep. It started with something small, almost forgettable. My 25th birthday was coming up, and I'd planned a simple dinner at home. Mother had been excited, humming more than usual, insisting on cooking all my favorite dishes herself. But 2 weeks before the dinner, I noticed her acting different. One night, I walked into the living room and found her sitting alone in the dark, staring at an old envelope clutched in her hands. When she noticed me, she slipped it under a cushion before I could even ask. "Ami? Kia hua?" She forced a smile and shook her head. "Just old memories, Beta, nothing more." But I could hear it, the tremor in her voice she couldn't hide. A few days later, I noticed something else. Every time Layla came over, my mother grew tense. Not visibly, she hid her emotions well, but her shoulders stiffened, her eyes followed us too closely, and her voice lost its usual warmth. I asked her once, half joking, "Are you jealous I spend more time with Layla than you?" She didn't laugh. She just touched my cheek and said softly, "Some things, you won't understand yet." That was the first time the air between us felt unfamiliar. Then came the moment that stayed in my mind long after I tried to forget it. I'd returned home early one afternoon, my head throbbing from a long workday. As I approached the door, I heard voices, my mother's, tight and uneasy, and Layla's, low and urgent. "She needs to know," Layla said. "No," my mother whispered. "Not now, please." I froze. Before I could hear more, the floor creaked under my weight, and both of them fell silent. When I walked in, they acted normal, too normal, like children caught stealing mangoes from a tree. "Everything okay?" I asked. My mother smiled too quickly. "Of course, Beta. We were just talking about the birthday menu." But Layla wouldn't meet my eyes. And in her silence, a small seed of unease rooted itself in my heart. Still, I brushed it away. Because that's what we do with the people we trust, we give them the benefit of the doubt, even when our instincts whisper warnings. I told myself I was imagining things. That stress was playing tricks on me. That my mother's strange behavior was just nostalgia, or age, or something harmless. I had no idea that the truth, the one they were hiding, would soon shatter the life I thought I knew. The closer my birthday came, the more my world felt slightly tilted. Not broken. Just tilted, the way a picture frame hangs crooked, almost imperceptible, until the moment you finally notice it and wonder how long it's been that way. One evening, about a week before the dinner, I noticed my mother clearing out one of the high shelves in her room, a shelf she never touched. Her hands moved quickly, almost nervously, as though she wanted whatever was up there gone before I walked in. "Ammy, why are you taking everything down?" I asked. She startled so hard she dropped a small journal. Its pages fanned open on the floor like a secret letting itself loose. Instead of answering me, she bent down quickly, clutching the book to her chest. Her voice was thin when she said, "Just cleaning, Beta. The dust gets everywhere." But it wasn't dust I saw in her eyes, it was fear. A specific kind of fear, the fear of losing something you've protected for a very long time. Before I could ask anything else, she placed the journal in a small box and pushed it deep into her cupboard. She didn't lock it, she never locked anything, but she closed the door with a hesitation that felt more like a warning than a simple gesture. Later that night, I found her awake again, sitting by the window with her dupatta wrapped tightly around her shoulders. The moonlight fell across her face, and she looked older, as though the secrets she carried were weighing on her bones. I almost sat beside her, almost asked what was hurting her. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe fear. Maybe intuition. Whatever it was, I chose silence, a choice I would regret later. Layla, too, had changed in her own way. She still came over, still smiled, still talked. But she was different. The words she chose felt careful, measured. And her eyes, once open books, had become unreadable. When we walked together, she no longer linked her arm with mine. When I joked, she laughed a second too late. And every time my mother entered the room, Layla's posture stiffened, like she was bracing herself for something. I thought she was hiding something. But I believed, foolishly, that whatever it was, she was protecting me. And in a way, she was. Just not in the way I imagined. My birthday dinner was supposed to be simple, my mother cooking, Layla helping, a few close friends stopping by after dessert. But nothing about that evening went the way I imagined. From the moment I woke up, the house felt uneasy. My mother kept glancing at the clock, her hands trembling every time she touched something fragile. She burned the first batch of biryani masala, something she had never done in my entire life. Layla, when she arrived, looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was tied back messily, her eyes rimmed with red, and she held her phone like she was waiting for a call she dreaded receiving. "Are you okay?" I asked her quietly. She hesitated. Just for a moment. And that hesitation felt like a shout. "I will be," she said finally. "After today. I will be." I didn't understand her words then. But I would, painfully, in just a few hours. The evening moved forward awkwardly, everyone pretending nothing was off, pretending the air wasn't filled with invisible threads pulling tighter. I tried to smile, tried to focus on the food, on the warmth of home, on the candlelight flickering softly against the walls. Then, when my mother went into the kitchen to bring out the kheer, Layla followed her. And the minute the door swung shut behind them, I knew. Not the truth, not yet, but I knew something was about to break. I told myself they were planning a birthday surprise. Maybe a gift, a letter, something sentimental. But then, through the half-open kitchen door, I heard my mother's voice. Low. Broken. Cracking like brittle glass. Please, Layla, don't do this today. Not today. She deserves one more happy birthday. My breath caught. My heart began to pound. Layla's reply came sharp, trembling, wounded. How many more years will you hide this from her? How much longer should she live without knowing the truth? I felt the blood drain from my face. The truth? About what? Before I could move, before I could even think, I heard the sound of something crashing, a pot or a bowl, and my mother's voice rose higher, panicked. This is not your place. You have no right. I have every right. Layla's voice cracked. You may love her, but she deserves her identity. Identity? The room spun. My birthday candles flickered on the table beside me, their flames bending as if even they trembled under the weight of what was happening. I pushed the door fully open. Both of them froze. My mother's eyes widened, tears shimmering. Layla's face turned pale, her lips pressed together like she was holding back everything at once. What, I whispered, is going on? Neither spoke. My mother lowered her gaze, her hands shaking so violently she had to brace herself against the counter. Layla took a step forward, then stopped as though she suddenly felt unworthy to stand close to me. Tell me, I said again, louder this time. Tell me what you're hiding. This time, Layla didn't look away. Her voice was soft, unbearably soft. This secret isn't mine to tell, but your mother won't tell you. She should have told you years ago. Layla, stop, my mother whispered, almost pleading. But Layla didn't stop. Her next words were the ones that changed everything. You were adopted. The world stilled. The hum of the refrigerator faded. The clink of metal utensils disappeared. Even my heartbeat felt muted, like it had forgotten how to beat. My mother let out a sound, half sob, half shout. Layla. But Layla kept going, tears streaking down her face. You weren't abandoned. You weren't unwanted. But you weren't born here. You weren't. Stop, my mother cried, covering her ears as if she could undo the words. Please stop. But it was too late. The truth was out. Floating in the air like smoke, impossible to gather, impossible to ignore. And the girl who had been my best friend, my sister, was the one who lit the match. The moment the words left Layla's mouth, the kitchen felt too small to hold our silence. Adopted. Such a simple word. 5 letters. Yet it sliced through 25 years of my life. My mother slowly sank into a chair, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Her eyes stayed fixed on the table as if she was afraid to meet my gaze. As if the truth itself had turned her into a stranger. I waited for her to say something, anything. A denial. An explanation. A whisper. But she said nothing. Only Layla wiped her face and stepped toward me with a kind of broken courage. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, she said, voice trembling. But you deserved the truth. You deserve to know where you come from. I stared at her like I didn't recognize her. Like she wasn't the same girl who used to braid my hair before school, who slept on the floor beside my bed when I cried through heartbreak, who promised she would always protect me. And you thought this was protecting me? My voice cracked, unfamiliar to my own ears. Layla swallowed hard. I thought, lying to you was worse. My mother finally lifted her face, wet with tears, lined with a kind of pain I hadn't seen before. Beta. I was going to tell you. I swear I was. I just. I needed the right time. The right time? My voice rose. Amy, I'm 25 years old. When was the right time? When I turned 30? 40? Never? She flinched. And suddenly I hated myself for how sharp my words sounded, but the hurt inside me was louder than my guilt. Layla stepped closer again, wiping fresh tears. You have a right to know where you came from. Your real mother. My mother shot up from the chair like she'd been burned. Don't you dare. Don't say another word. But Layla didn't back down. Her voice cracked open with its own history of grief. You're not the only one she lied to. She lied to me too, for years. I only found out last year when I overheard her talking to someone on the phone. And I kept quiet, thinking she'd tell you. But she didn't. She shook her head, sobbing openly now. I couldn't watch her hide this from you anymore. My mother held her chest, as though her heart was physically hurting. I wasn't hiding her origins. I was protecting her. Protecting me from what? I whispered. My mother's face folded with a sorrow I couldn't read. From a truth that would break you. I felt something inside me rupture, a quiet tear, somewhere deep in my chest. Congratulations, I said, my voice barely audible. Because I'm broken now. My mother tried to touch my hand, but I pulled away. The distance between us felt unbearably wide. And Layla, the girl who once felt like a second self. She was standing on the other side of the truth, looking at me with eyes filled with guilt and determination. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I belonged to anyone. I stepped out of the kitchen without another word. The candle on the table had burned low, its flame bending sideways, wax dripping like tears. It was supposed to be my birthday. A day to feel celebrated. Instead, I felt like a guest in my own life, like I'd walked into a movie where I didn't know my own role. I don't remember sitting on the sofa. I don't remember breathing. I only remember the weight. The weight of not knowing who I was. The weight of my mother's silence. The weight of Layla's confession. They followed me like shadows. A moment later, I heard footsteps, soft, hesitant. It was my mother. Her voice small. Beta, please look at me. I didn't. I didn't tell you because I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid you would think you weren't mine. Afraid you would look at me like a stranger. Afraid you would leave. Her voice cracked. I may not have given birth to you, but you are my heart. My whole heart. A tear slipped down my cheek, quiet, stubborn. But you lied to me, I said. All my life. She nodded. Yes. And that lie has lived in my chest like a stone. I carried it every single day. I finally looked at her, her small frame, her grief-worn eyes, her shaking hands. I didn't feel anger then. Not hatred. Just a deep, aching betrayal. Before I could respond, Layla walked into the room. Her voice was firm, but her eyes were soft. You both deserve to heal. But healing doesn't start with secrets. She looked at me. Do you want to know the truth? Your real truth? My breath hitched. Did I? Was I ready? My mother shook her head desperately. No. Not like this. Not tonight. She needs time. But I wasn't sure time was something I could trust anymore. What truth? I whispered. Layla hesitated, then said quietly. I know who your birth mother is. My stomach dropped. And in the heavy silence that followed, I felt the floor of my entire identity shift beneath me. My mother stepped between us, not angrily, but protectively. Layla, please. Let me tell her myself. I need to explain. Explain? Layla's voice cracked. You've had 25 years to explain. They started arguing again, their voices rising, overlapping, tangled in years of unspoken emotions. I sat there, numb, the edges of the room blurring. My best friend knew something about me that I didn't know myself. My mother had been hiding something monumental. And I was the only one who had lived my life in ignorance. Finally, I raised my hand. Stop. Both women fell silent instantly. I swallowed hard, my voice unsteady. This isn't about who tells me. It's about what I'm ready to hear. Layla wiped her face, breathing shakily. I know who she is. I've seen her. My mother stiffened. You had no right to go looking for her. Layla looked pained. I didn't go looking. She came to our area months ago. She talked to some neighbors. I recognized her from a picture I found in your house. My heart slammed against my ribs. A picture? In my house? Of a woman I had never seen? My voice broke. Just tell me, is she alive? Layla nodded. Yes. My breath caught. My mother whispered, Beta, please. But I stood up. My legs were shaking, but I stood anyway. I want to know everything, I said. No more lies. The house fell silent again, bracing itself for the truth that was about to unfold. A truth that had been hidden for 25 years. A truth that would reshape my entire existence. Layla and my mother stood on opposite ends of the room, like two truths waiting for me to choose one of them. But I didn't want to choose. I just wanted answers. Sit, I said quietly. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried enough weight that both of them obeyed. My mother sat on the edge of the sofa, as if she expected the ground to give way beneath her at any moment. Layla sat further away, her hands twisted together in her lap, guilt sitting heavy on her face. I remained standing. Tell me, I said. Who is she? My birth mother. My mother closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, the kind of breath a person takes before diving underwater. She was someone very dear to us, she began softly. Someone we never thought would leave. My heart stuttered. Layla looked down, as if she already knew this part. Her name, my mother whispered, is Farah. The name meant nothing to me. It felt like hearing the name of a stranger. But my mother's voice trembled when she said it, as though the very syllables carried a lifetime of grief. Who is she? I repeated. This time, my mother didn't answer. Layla did. She was your mother's cousin. My head snapped toward her. My mother didn't correct her. My chest tightened as the truth started forming shape, jagged, painful. So I'm her daughter? I whispered. My mother nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. I pressed a hand against the wall to steady myself. How? I asked. Why? Why would she give me away? My mother covered her mouth, a sob escaping her. She didn't give you away, at first. That sentence, that one strange, broken sentence, made the air feel colder. At first? I repeated. What does that mean? My mother wiped her face with the corner of her dupatta. She loved you. She loved you more than anything. But her life, her marriage, it was dangerous. I frowned. Dangerous how? My mother hesitated. Her husband. Her husband was abusive, Layla interrupted, her voice shaking with anger that wasn't hers but felt inherited. Everyone in the family knew. He hurt her. He controlled her. And when she got pregnant, things got worse. I felt my stomach twist. She tried to leave him, my mother whispered. She tried so hard. But he threatened to kill her. To kill you. My breath froze. She ran away, my mother continued. She came to our house one night, bruised and terrified, carrying you in her arms. You were only 6 months old. She looked at me then, really looked. You were so small, Beta. So fragile. We hid both of you for months. Layla nodded. I read her journal, she admitted. She wrote about those months. She said holding you was the only thing giving her strength. I closed my eyes as tears fell hot and uncontrollable. My mother reached out a trembling hand toward me, but I stepped away, not ready to be touched. What happened? Why didn't she stay? My voice cracked. My mother looked shattered. She left one night without warning. She left you with us, and disappeared. I felt my heart thud painfully in my chest. She didn't disappear, Layla said quietly. She was taken. My head jerked up. What? My mother shook her head violently. Layla, no. That's not confirmed. I spoke to one of the neighbors she visited, Layla said, her voice cracking. Farah told her she had run away from a man who was hunting her. A man who said she could never escape him. My mother looked like she was going to faint. I felt cold, bone-deep cold. So she left me here to protect me? I whispered. Yes, Layla said softly. She didn't abandon you. She saved you. And then she disappeared, my mother added. We never found her. The room felt unbearably quiet. Every sound seemed distant, the ticking clock, the soft hum of the ceiling fan, the far-off barking of a dog. What happened to him? I whispered. Her husband. My father? The word felt foreign, heavy, ugly in my mouth. We don't know, my mother said. He stopped searching for her after a year. Or maybe he didn't. We cut ties with everyone who knew him. I swallowed hard. My birth mother was alive. My birth father, whoever he was, might still be out there. And I had been protected by a lie for 25 years. My hands trembled as I pressed them to my face. Everything felt wrong suddenly, the weight of the truth crashed through me. I turned toward Layla. How long have you known? I asked. She winced. Almost a year. A year. An entire year where she carried my truth without telling me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? My voice shook. I wanted to, she said. I begged your mother to tell you. She kept saying you weren't ready. That it would traumatize you. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Traumatize me? Layla, this feels worse than anything I've ever known. My mother stood up, crying openly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're my daughter. I raised you. I fed you. I held you at night. I loved you more than anything. I didn't want you to feel like you were someone else's child. I never would have felt that, I whispered. Not if you told me yourself. Silence. And you, I said, turning back to Layla. You went behind her back. You searched through our things. You found pictures, journals, you spoke to strangers. Why? Layla's face crumpled. Because you're my best friend, she whispered. Because I knew how much this would mean to you. I knew you deserved answers. And you decided that on your own? She inhaled shakily. I decided, because you once told me you hated lies more than pain. That memory punched me in the chest. She wasn't wrong. But she wasn't right either. You should have waited until I was ready, I said softly. You shouldn't have had to wait at all, she replied. My mother covered her face, sobbing. And in that instant, I felt like I was standing at the center of two storms, one shaped by love, one shaped by truth, and both were tearing me in opposite directions. I grabbed my shawl and stepped back. I need air, I whispered. I can't breathe in here. My mother reached for me. Please don't leave like this. I'm not leaving forever, I said softly. I just need a moment that belongs to me. Layla stood too. I'll come with you. But I shook my head. No. Not now. Not tonight. Both women froze. And for the first time in my life, I walked away from the only two people who loved me most. The truth was heavy. But solitude was heavier. I stepped outside into the night air, still warm, carrying the faint scent of wet earth. I stood under the street lamp, feeling the weight of my new identity settle over me like an unfamiliar skin. I wasn't who I thought I was. And nothing would ever be the same again. I stood there frozen, the truth hitting me harder than anything ever had. Every missing piece, every strange moment, every half-answer finally made sense. It wasn't just a secret. It was my entire life rewritten. My heartbeat got louder, almost painful, as I read those final lines again. The handwriting shook, like the person who wrote it was terrified of the truth escaping. And in that moment, I realized something horrible. Everyone I trusted, everyone I loved, had known this truth long before I did. Suddenly every memory felt fake. Every "I'm proud of you," every "your family," every "we're telling you everything," sounded like a lie wrapped in a smile. I felt my chest tighten. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or run. But before I could react, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, heavy, deliberate. I turned around. And the person standing there said the one sentence that changed everything. "You weren't supposed to find that." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. Every word on that page felt like it was cutting into me, slowly. Like the truth had been waiting years just to break me open. I kept reading the same sentence again and again, hoping, praying, that somehow I misunderstood everything. But I didn't. This wasn't a small secret. This was the kind of truth that changes who you are. The kind that makes you question every smile, every hug, every "I love you" you ever received. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to cry, but even my tears were too shocked to fall. Because suddenly, every memory from my childhood looked different. The silence at family dinners. The way conversation stopped when I walked into the room. The awkward glances. The unfinished explanations. They all made sense now. They weren't coincidences. They were warnings I never understood. And just when I thought the pain couldn't get any heavier, I heard a soft, hesitant voice behind me. I turned around slowly, terrified of what I'd see. And there they stood, eyes full of guilt, fear, and something else. Something that shattered me even more. They whispered, barely audible, "I'm sorry. You were never meant to know the truth this way." I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, like someone was pressing a hand against it, forcing the truth to stay stuck inside me. And maybe a part of me still hoped this was all a mistake. That if I didn't speak, the world wouldn't shift beneath my feet. But it already had. I folded the paper slowly, carefully, as if handling it gently would soften the pain. It didn't. I placed it on the table, then looked up. My best friend, the girl I trusted more than anyone, stood trembling in the doorway. Her eyes were glossy with tears, her breath unsteady. And for a moment, I saw us at 12 years old again. Sitting under her mother's mango tree. Laughing so hard juice spilled down our chins. How did we get here? How did she become the person I feared looking at? I finally managed to whisper. Why would you do this to me?" The words broke on the way out, weak and shaking. She flinched, not because the words were loud, but because they were true. She stepped closer but stopped halfway. Like she knew she no longer had the right to stand beside me. "I swear," she said, wiping her face, "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I got tired of protecting a lie that wasn't mine. A lie that wasn't hers." Those words hit me deeper than she knew. I tried to breathe, but the air felt heavy. As if the room had suddenly shrunk around us. I pulled out the chair and slowly sank into it. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. She kept talking, her voice trembling. "Your mother made me promise. She told me never to say a word. She said you weren't ready. She said it would destroy you." A bitter, hollow laugh slipped out of me. "Destroy me?" I said quietly. "And what exactly do you think this did?" She winced again. I wasn't yelling. I didn't need to. My calmness was the kind that comes right before a storm breaks the trees. I rubbed my palms together, something I always did when trying not to cry. The skin felt cold, numb. Then I asked the question that had been clawing inside my chest since the moment I opened that envelope. How long have you known? She hesitated. God, that hesitation hurt more than the truth. Since we were 16, she whispered. 16. We were kids then. We shared secrets about crushes, bad grades. Our dreams of leaving our small town someday. All that time. All those years. And she had been carrying my truth in her pocket while I walked around blind. I pressed my fingers against my forehead. It felt like my skull was splitting. 16, I repeated under my breath. You were a child. You should never have been given this burden. I looked up at her. But you could have told me once we became adults. Once we grew up. You could have told me before the world told me. Before that letter told me. Tears slid down her cheeks. I know. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. I thought if you knew, you'd hate me. I shook my head slowly. I don't hate you. My voice cracked. I don't know who you are anymore. Silence settled between us. Deep, aching, heavy. It wasn't the silence of anger. It was the silence of grief. Because betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet breaking. So quiet that only the person hurting can hear the pieces fall. After a moment, I stood up. She stepped back instinctively. I walked past her, toward the front door. My hand rested on the doorknob, cold metal grounding me. Without turning around, I said. I need time. I need space. And I need to hear the truth from the people who should have told me first. She nodded, but I could hear the sob in her breath. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I closed my eyes. So am I said softly. But sorry doesn't undo years of silence. And with that, I opened the door and stepped outside. The air felt different. Colder. Sharper. Like even the wind knew my life had split into two parts. Before the truth. And after it. I walked down the small, cracked path toward my parents' house. Each step felt heavier than the last. Memories pressed against me. My mother brushing my hair before school. My father teaching me how to ride a bike. The warm laughter in our living room during winters. Were those moments even real? Or were they built on a foundation of secrets? I reached their front porch. The light was on, casting a soft glow across the wooden boards. For a moment, I hesitated. My hand hovered above the door. I could walk away. Pretend I hadn't found the letter. Pretend my best friend hadn't broken the silence. But lies don't disappear when we ignore them. They wait. They grow. And I wanted the truth now. Even if it hurt. Even if it changed everything. So I knocked. Not loudly. Just enough. Footsteps approached on the other side. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my ribs. The door opened. My mother stood there, her face warm and familiar. The same woman who had kissed my forehead every night. Who had called me her miracle child. Who had held me when I cried. But tonight. For the first time. I looked at her and wondered who she really was. Her smile faded when she saw my expression. Sweetheart? What's wrong? She asked. I held up the folded letter. Her face went pale instantly. Not a flicker. A full collapse of color, like someone had drained her life out in one breath. Mom, I whispered. Is it true? Her lips parted. But no sound came out. Her eyes filled with tears. And in that moment, before she even spoke, I knew. The secret of my birth. The thing she'd hidden my whole life. It was real. My mother didn't speak for several seconds. She didn't need to. Her silence. The way her shoulders wilted. The way her hands trembled as she reached for the edge of the doorway. The way her eyes couldn't meet mine. It was an answer louder than anything she could have said. I stepped inside, slowly, like I was walking into a memory that had turned into a stranger's house. My father appeared in the hallway, wiping his glasses with a soft cloth. When he saw the letter in my hand, he froze. He didn't ask what it was. He knew. My mother finally whispered, "Sit down, sweetheart." Her voice cracked on the last word. And hearing her call me sweetheart made something inside me ache. I sat on the sofa, the same one where I'd fallen asleep during movie nights. The same one where my dad used to lift me onto his lap. Tonight it felt colder, harder. They sat across from me, side by side, but not touching. It almost felt symbolic. My voice came out soft, almost fragile. "I need you to tell me everything. No more half-truths. No more 'we'll explain when you're older.' I'm older now." My father exhaled slowly and removed his glasses. Without them, he suddenly looked 10 years older. My mother held her hands tightly in her lap, twisting her fingers. Then the truth began. Piece by piece. Sentence by sentence. Pain by pain. "I couldn't have children," my mother whispered. Her voice was barely audible, like she was confessing to a crime. "We tried for years. We prayed, we pleaded, we lost so much along the way." My father rubbed her back gently. The first time they'd touched since I walked in. She looked up, her eyes raw. "And then, one day, someone walked into our lives with a baby. A newborn. You." My breath caught. A part of me already knew this, but hearing my mother say the words tore something open again. "We adopted you," she continued. "But it wasn't a regular adoption. It was complicated. Private. We were told to keep quiet about it. For your safety, and for hers." "For her?" I whispered. "You mean my biological mother?" My father nodded slowly. "She was very young," he said. "Too young. And her family, they weren't safe people. There was chaos. Violence. We promised her we'd give you a life far away from all that." I swallowed hard. So that was the truth. Not a fantasy. Not a movie plot. Just two scared adults trying to protect a child. Me. But why hide it so completely? Why raise me in shadows? I asked them that exact question. My mother covered her mouth with both hands as tears fell. "We were afraid," she whispered. "Afraid you'd reject us. Afraid you'd look at us differently. Afraid you'd go find her and disappear." She wasn't lying. I could hear the sincerity, feel the fear dripping through every word. But fear doesn't make betrayal hurt any less. A long, painful silence stretched between us. Then I whispered, "And my best friend? Why involve her?" My mother's breath hitched. Her face crumpled. "She found out accidentally. She overheard a conversation between me and your aunt. I made her promise not to tell you. She was so young, she didn't know how heavy the secret was." Hearing that didn't make the betrayal easier. But it explained the burden my friend had carried for years. Finally, my father leaned forward. "Whatever you need, answers, documents, names, we will give them to you. We won't hide anything anymore. We promise." Promises. A strange word coming from the people who had broken the biggest one. I nodded slowly. "I appreciate that," I said, though my voice felt like paper, thin and foldable. "But I need time to process this. And I need to make my own choices now." They both nodded, teary, ashamed, trying to respect the distance I was building. I stood to leave. My mother reached out instinctively, then stopped, letting her hand fall onto her lap. That hurt me more than anything. I walked outside into the cool evening air. The world looked the same. The street light flickering, the neighbor's dog barking. The smell of distant rain. But I was different. The next morning, the truth spread through the family like wildfire. Not because I told anyone, but because secrets don't stay buried once the dirt is disturbed. Relatives called. Aunts whispered. My cousin sent a long, shocked voice note. Everyone wanted to know how I was. What happened? How long my parents had lied. Some were sympathetic. Some were judgmental. A few even took my side so dramatically it made me uncomfortable. But the hardest blow came when the story reached the community. People began looking at my parents differently. Whispering when they entered church. Questioning their choices. Criticizing their silence. One woman murmured loud enough for me to hear at the grocery store. Imagine hiding something like that from your own child. And for a moment. For a painful, shameful moment. I wanted to defend them. Because I knew they weren't monsters. Just flawed humans who made flawed choices. But my chest was too heavy to say anything. And then, there was my best friend. When the truth got out that she was the one who finally told me, people in our circle turned on her. Some called her a traitor. Others said she meddled in a family matter that wasn't hers. Her own mother scolded her for creating drama that wasn't needed. I didn't speak to her. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But hearing people attack her didn't sit right with me either. Because as hurtful as her choice was, she wasn't trying to destroy me. She broke under the weight of a secret she should never have carried. Watching her face the consequences publicly, while I was still bleeding privately, it added another layer of pain to everything. The truth hadn't just broken me. It broke all of us. And that's when I realized something. Secrets don't stay between two people. They ripple. They bruise. They stain everything they touch. And now, I had to decide how to take the next step. Not as a daughter who was protected. Not as a friend who was shielded. But as a woman who knew the truth. And had to decide what to do with it. In the days that followed, I learned something important. When your world falls apart, people expect you to either break completely or rise like some kind of miracle. But real healing, it looks nothing like that. Real healing is messy. It's slow. It's waking up with a tight chest and going to bed with a quieter one. It's taking small steps instead of grand decisions. So that's what I did. I took small steps. The first one was simple. I stopped avoiding myself. I sat alone in my room, letter in my lap, and read it again. Not through the eyes of a daughter who felt betrayed, but through the eyes of a woman who finally understood that her identity was not being destroyed. It was being revealed. There was pain, yes. But there was also clarity. The second step was harder. I called my best friend. When she answered, her voice was so shaky. I could tell she hadn't slept in days. Hey, I said softly. She let out a breath, a long, relieved one. Like she'd been holding it since the day everything happened. Hey, she whispered back, her voice breaking. For a moment, we didn't speak. Sometimes silence can hurt. But sometimes it can heal too. I'm not calling to fight, I finally said. I think we've both had enough of that. She sniffled. I'm so sorry, you don't have to forgive me. Just, thank you for calling. And that's when my voice softened. Because I remembered something important. She had been a child carrying a secret meant for adults. And she had cracked not out of cruelty, but out of exhaustion. I'm still hurt, I admitted. But I don't hate you. And I don't want people attacking you for something that was never yours to carry. She cried harder. Not loud sobs, just quiet, trembling breaths. The kind that come from relief. We talked for a long time. Not about the betrayal. Not about the letter. But about us. Our childhood. Our friendship. Our memories. And slowly, like two hands reaching across a broken bridge, We found each other again. It wasn't full forgiveness yet. But it was the first light after a long storm. The third step was the hardest of all. One quiet morning, I walked into my parents' house with the letter in my hand. My mother stood by the kitchen counter, cutting fruit with trembling hands. My father sat at the table, staring into his tea as if answers might appear in the steam. They both looked up when I entered. Hopeful, afraid, silent. I sat down across from them. My mother's voice cracked. Are you all right? I nodded. Not because everything was okay, but because I was finally strong enough to face what wasn't. I've been thinking, I said softly. I needed time. I still do. But I don't want us to spend the rest of our lives punishing each other. My mother broke instantly. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling from the corners of her eyes. My father's shoulders dropped, like the weight he'd carried for years finally loosened. I took a breath. I'm not ready to pretend nothing happened. I can't rewrite the truth. But I can choose how to live with it. They both leaned in, listening like every word was a piece they had been waiting to hear. You lied, I continued gently. But you also loved me. You protected me. You raised me. And no truth changes that. My mother let out a sob. Not loud or dramatic, but the kind that comes when the heart finally lets go of something heavy. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of it. For the fear. For the silence. For not trusting you with your own story. My father reached across the table, his hand trembling as he placed it near mine. Not touching, just offering. You are our daughter, he said quietly. In every way that matters. And we are done hiding from you. Ask anything. We will tell you everything. For the first time since the day the truth came out, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness. Not completely. But the beginning of it. I placed my hand over his. Not out of obligation, but out of acceptance. You're still my parents, I whispered. And in that moment, I watched both of them dissolve into tears. Relief, regret, love, all tangled together. Healing didn't happen instantly. It didn't happen in one conversation or one apology. It happened slowly, in small moments. My mother asking gently, do you want to know more about her? My father offering old photos and documents. Hand steady this time. My best friend sending simple check-ins. Soft enough not to overwhelm me. And me, learning that the truth didn't erase who I was. Or the love I'd received. It simply added another layer to the story of me. One afternoon, weeks later, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection with new eyes. Not the child who had been protected. Not the young woman who had felt betrayed. But someone stronger, wiser. Someone who now understood that identity is not given to us. We uncover it. Piece by painful piece. And when I stepped away from that mirror, I felt something unexpected. Peace. Not a perfect peace. Not a loud or triumphant one. A quiet peace. The kind that whispers. You survived. You learned. And you're still standing. As I sit here now, telling this story, I can still feel the weight of those days pressing down on me. The moments of shock, of betrayal, of heartbreak. They linger like shadows at the edge of memory. But I also feel something else now. A quiet strength that comes from facing the truth. Even when it hurts more than we ever imagined. Secrets have a way of shaping us. Sometimes in ways we cannot see. They can wound, mislead, or even frighten us. But they can also teach us, if we allow them. About resilience, forgiveness, and the fragile power of trust. I learned that truth, once discovered, cannot be undone. And yet, it does not have to destroy us. It can open the door to understanding, to connection, to a life lived honestly, even after betrayal. I also learned that people who hurt us are often human first. Flawed, fearful, but sometimes capable of deep love. The same person who keeps a secret can also be the one who teaches us a lesson we will carry for the rest of our lives. So now, I ask you, gently, if you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have forgiven? Would you have walked away? Or would you have let the pain stay, unspoken, inside you? Life isn't perfect. People aren't perfect. But in the end, our choices, how we respond, how we heal, they define us more than the secrets themselves ever could. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you love, or someone you lost, I hope you'll share it, reflect on it, and carry its lesson forward. And if you'd like to hear more stories like mine, stories of truth, heartbreak, and courage, please subscribe to the channel. And let us walk through these journeys together.